My name is Jamie Piles. I joined Samaritan in December of 1996. We were homeschooling our kids, and we were already thinking outside the world's box, if you will. And I saw a little tiny classified ad about this new kind of idea I'd never heard of before. My first reaction was, that's the kind of thing that we would do, isn't it? And so I finally called the number, talked to them, and the more I asked them questions, the more I liked their answers.
It's you. Toby's not here, so it's you.
Welcome to Cross Politic. I'm the Chocolate
We
Knox.
did just talk about this.
Gabe Wrench is the water boy, and
Pastor Toby.
There's a guy here
again
that usually
we have a pastor.
We call him Pastor Toby. Believe me or not, he's a better pastor than he is a host. I just want to say that right now.
He's supposed to be. He's supposed to
no,
be.
Come on.
We want to be a better pastor than host.
Stop. All right. That's enough of you.
All right, accountable to you. Jesus is Lord in public and in private. Every area of life must be subject to his lordship, and our use of technology is no exception. What captures our attention on the screen either glorifies or dishonors our Lord. That's why Accountable to You is committed to promoting biblical accountability in our families and churches. Their monitoring and reporting software makes transparency easy on all of your devices, so you can say with the psalmist, I will not set anything worthless before my eyes. Guard against temptation with Accountable to You and live for God's glory. Learn more and try it for free at accountable2you.com. That's accountable, the letter 2, you, Y-O-U.com / the number, the letter, the number.
Those are different things. /
FLF. Don't forget the FLF because that's telling you that you heard about it from us, okay? And by the way, if you're in Florida, Gainesville area, we've talked about this before. Our buddy out there is kind of churchless in Gainesville. It's not very, I guess there's not very many good churches, at least that's what I hear on. So he's doing a psalm sing. Our buddy in Gainesville, Florida is going to be doing a psalm sing, and he's excited to host. Let me get my text catching up here. Excited to host the next Gainesville psalm sing on Saturday at July 1st. That's before 4th of July. July 1st at 4:30 p.m. Eastern time at his house. Y'all, we won't be there, but y'all will sing for about an hour and then have tacos and drinks. If you could bring a dessert or side dish, that would be great. RSVP if you can make it to Benjamin Nusima.
Oh, yeah.
Benjamin, BENJAMIN .R.Nusima. Now, this is how you spell Nusima. This is how we got to do it on an audio plug. Go back and rewind it if you need to. But NIEUWSMA @gmail.com. That's Benjamin.R.Nusima @gmail.com.
Man.
So, join a brother out in Gainesville.
Usually when you start seeing psalm sings like that, you can pretty much bet that there's going to be a church planted out or something like that.
They had about 40 people the last time we plugged this.
Oh, really?
Yeah. No one knew each other. It was great.
Oh, that's awesome. Well, let's get 80. Let's double those efforts.
Yeah.
Get some tacos.
I'm excited to interview Emilio Martinez.
You forgot the J.
Emilio Martinez. Okay. In the showbiz, that's important. He honed his comedy craft as a performer in LA improv scene, working with the likes of Bob Odenkirk, Andy Dick, Kathy Griffin. Woo, we got to talk about
Poor
that
fella.
one. Jennifer Coolidge. Enter Cancel Culture. ... That's what it said on my screen. Emilio now works to battle against mainstream news and the narratives they push to stoke the woke mob. Emilio, thanks for coming on Cross Politic, where cancel culture exists here too.
Yes, exactly. In fact, I've got you guys on high alert, high trigger warning. Don't cross my lines. I will be out of here. But I'm not going to tell you what they are.
Yeah,
let's just play a game.
What line is that? Let's play the line.
Oh, Emilio, don't play that game. I love
lines.
chicken.
Everybody's playing that game these days. Let's do it. Bring it.
So you and I share something in common. We're going to get to this part, but you and I share something in common. We both have shows that are going to be dropping on Loor TV. Now, you have a show called
#Fake News Show.
Now, there's also it's already on Twitter, right? You already have the Twitter handles already there, so suggest people go and follow you on Twitter as well. We'll get to that in just a second. What we got you on the show to talk about originally was that you got arrested. Was it in Glendale, California?
I did. It was at a protest at the meeting of the Glendale Unified School District Board.
Who did you hit?
What did I hit? I hit the pavement. That's what I hit.
Oh, poor concrete. But we'll get to that in a second. What I heard that.
Oh man, it's getting we're getting to all this stuff.
This is Inception.
There's a lot of stuff to get to.
This is Inception.
Okay. All right.
But I heard that God saved you out of a radical lifestyle. And I'm like, man, I got to hear about that before we talk about your arrest.
Well, is that how my testimony is being packaged these days? Give my PR team a bonus. I love it. Save that. Yes, that radical lifestyle was called. It was called godlessness. It was called liberalism, and it was called godless liberalism. That's what it was.
That doesn't sound like anything special. That's where I came out of.
Yeah. So I got to tell you, that wasn't, speaking of my testimony and the arrest at Glendale, the school, the Glendale School Board, that arrest at the Glendale Unified School District was not my first time being arrested. It was actually my third time being arrested. The first two times I got arrested for domestic violence, basically for hitting my wife. It was on the second time that the Holy Spirit really got a hold of me and convicted me to the point that I actually went into the courtroom and said, how do I plead guilty to this? How do I plead guilty to this? What I did was wrong. The Holy Spirit just shook me to my very foundation. And it was ironic that I hit my wife because I was actually a feminist at the time, or so I thought. Well, I guess I was, because I thought if a woman hits, it's okay for a man to hit back, right? And it wasn't until I had this radical shift that no, hitting is bad, period, And then it was also tied to a lot of, trauma. Everybody's got PTSD these days and trigger warnings and everything. And I was actually court ordered to therapy and a psych evaluation where they said, oh, you've got PTSD. And I realized that I was addicted to victim ideology, even though I was trying to break out of it. And I was doing a lot of work on myself. It wasn't until I came face to face with Jesus on the cross that I realized, no, I'm not a victim. I'm a sinner. It's not about people who have hurt me. It's about people that I've hurt. And so I just had this radical turnaround. And like I said, I was a feminist abuser because I believed men and women were just the same.
Yeah. Are you and your wife still together? How did you guys work through that? Is she?
How did we work through that? I worked through it. We were in divorce court for a whole year. And, I had some great mentors and counselors. And of course, I had Christ leading me, get through with the Holy Spirit and, putting me in touch with my father, who I'd never been able to really look at God as a father. And, it all came together. And so through that year, I got to tell you, the night I got out of jail, let me back up. The night I got out of jail, I went home to this cold, empty house that I had just bought. That was what the fight was over. Now it was empty, and I went there and fell asleep. And as I was dozing off, I had a vision that in a year, my wife would come back to me. And so for that year, I carried that promise, but it was tough because it didn't seem like it was going to happen. And like my wife got a girlfriend, but not a girlfriend. That would have been a little more interesting. But she got a boyfriend. I had 2 restraining orders. She never wanted to really have anything to do with me. But every time I would say, God, it's not going to happen, I would hear, yes, it can happen. All you have to do is believe I can do it. And so after 1 year, she came back to me. We reconciled, and I actually had to convince her to attend the last day of court for our divorce. So was it me? No, it was kind of like what a guy told me when I was going through the divorce. He said, Emilio, you killed your marriage. your wife is no longer in love with you. If she comes back, it's because she sees the light of Christ on you.
Amen.
And boy, does my wife remind me of that every day when I step out of line. When I step out of that, that aura of grace, of God's grace, she's like, but no, there were tough times along the way. I had to do, probably one of the hardest things I had to do was get down on my knees and pray for the boyfriend, because that's what my wife said. Woo! Oh, you're a big Christian now. Well, why don't you get down and pray for Brian? And I did. I got down.
Lord have mercy.
Okay.
Wow.
I said, Lord have mercy. If he's going to be the father, if he's going to be the husband in my family, let him be the best. And if he's not, Lord, take him away. Yeah. So that's what God did. So
did your wife become a Christian in all this, or was she already?
Yeah. No. She didn't become a Christian through all this. Ironic, she's the one that helped lead me to Christ, because at the time that I was going through this, she had taken me to like a Celebrate Recovery meeting at a Baptist church. And of course, I was like a new age person, or really like I was into Eastern mysticism, and I was a practicing Buddhist. No, not like an official practicing Buddhist. I basically believed in a Buddhist worldview, that the world was spirit. But she had taken me to this Celebrate Recovery meeting at a Baptist church, because she wanted me to get help for anger. And I went with her because I thought she was there to work on weight loss. I was like, yeah, this is great. I'll go and support you. And then, so she dragged me there, and I was like, oh, these guys, they're stupid. I mean, they believe the world was created in 6 days. What? But they really seem to be getting something out of reading the Bible. And then, just you open up, and then the Lord just comes in and, it was like the pastor there. He gave a sermon one time. He says, when you show up at the dentist and your mouth is rotten, he's going to pull all the teeth out. Uh-huh. That's what Jesus does. You show up for a toothache, he'll pull all the teeth. Yeah, he'll pull all the teeth.
The good thing he brings in resurrection to those teeth.
Yeah, that's right.
He does.
He don't just stop there.
Yeah, that's it. The thing. He doesn't give you dentures. He gives you like a whole new set.
So, Emilio, how long ago was this?
This was about 16 years ago, 16 and a half years ago. Yeah.
And you worked with Kathy Griffin like pre-saved or post-saved?
Oh, yeah, years. I always say it kind of like Kathy Griffin kind of had, she traumatized me, because I actually kind of dated Kathy. Although you can't really date Kathy. She dates you. Yeah. Right? And that was a mistake that I made as a young man to get involved with her, because she just wanted a body count. Uh-huh. And I was a young virgin who was looking to find my soulmate. And honestly, I part of it that fit, again, that new age kind of thinking. I had gotten my my astrological chart read, and it said, when you're 23 years old, you're going to meet your soulmate, right? Yeah. And the clock was ticking. I was going to be 24, and she was able to. She didn't use that directly. She just, she liked to hit the young guys. Yeah. So, you can read all about it. Yeah. She, I saw an interview with her and Jack Black talking how he, she pinged him, and he was happy about it. I was like, well, that's because you obviously didn't think sex and marriage and anything like that valued for anything.
Yeah. Yeah.
So, but that's Hollywood for you. Yeah. But she was actually my teacher at the Groundlings. So, but I always say that, it's like Kathy Griffin got a hold of me, right? Yeah. She actually gave me my first panic attack. And then when she like unceremoniously dumped me and then made me pay the bill. But it took Jesus to get me put back together. Uh-huh. So thank you, Kathy Griffin. I always love how she said, has got the famous, like, suck this, Jesus, or whatever she said, But with her Emmy.
She was part of leading you to the Lord in some sense.
Yeah, she really was. So I got to thank her. I hope to apologize to her for, engaging in her psychodrama. Yeah. Because right now, ironically, she's posting on social media talking about her panic attacks. Uh-huh. I wish I could just tell her, like, you know what? You gave me my first panic attack. You gave me my first panic attack. Now I can give you the gift that if you just turn to the Lord, He will make the fear go away.
Amen.
You'll find peace, a peace beyond understanding. So yeah.
Put that on the reel.
So how does this get to, because it was about a month ago, you were protesting the Glendale kind of school board meeting in outside of LA. And how does you get arrested for protesting? What was the meeting about, and why did you get arrested?
Well, the meeting was about some policies that they were putting into place about Pride Month, and then also some policies that they have been enacting over the past few years where they've been, kids are getting in trouble. One kid I heard speak said he got suspended for misgendering one of his classmates. A classmate, he didn't even know that the gender had changed. He got suspended. Other kids, there's this young girl. She's kind of become a face of the movement over here. Her name is Thelma. She was walked out of the school or prevented from entering the school by police because of her views. So the pro-queer ideology has taken a good, strong foothold here in the Glendale school system. And so parents were speaking out about it. And, and then there's a large Armenian population here, and they came out in droves, right? And they got really fired up. Unfortunately, they didn't know that Antifa and like other queer activists, queer allied and leftist allied activists like to come out to conservative protests and purposefully disrupt them so that the police will call an unlawful assembly and shut it down and send everybody home. And then Antifa and the Queer Nation, they also show up with a journalist corps that takes pictures and video and then feeds them to the mainstream media with a mainstream narrative that, the protesters that came out were anti-gay, hateful, were violent, right? And then, this also affected the Glendale school district meeting. They locked it down. It was just like AOC at January 6th all over again. Oh my gosh, the white supremacist Trump supporters, anti-gay people, trans homophobes are going to come in here and kill us. That was the news narrative that got put out. Right. And then again, the police sent everybody home. And why I got arrested is I said, I'm not going home. I've seen them do this before. I saw them do it January 6th here in LA at the LA City Council, at the LA City Hall, rather. The Stop the Still protest that I was a part of there got shut down with Antifa. And then over the last few years, during COVID and during other conservative protests, Antifa shows up, disrupts, police shut it down. Everybody, they're just trying to silence the conservative voices, trying to scare people from coming out, trying to, position them as like outside agitators and hateful and, extremists. And then, just, spiraling that up to the news.
Man,
so we actually have some video of you being arrested. I think getting tossed in the back of the paddy wagon.
Before we throw that up, let me get to
wait. Where did you guys get this video?
Before we play the video,
my gosh.
Real quick, Emilio, I have an ad to read here. Gravity Jack is a full-service digital agency specializing in the development of virtual and augmented reality experiences, mobile apps, blockchain, and Web3 projects. Founded in 2009 as America's first agency to offer augmented reality, they even patented it. Gravity Jack's digital experiences have been a source of innovation for small businesses, Fortune 500 companies, and the U.S. military. Get your vision in motion at gravityjack.com. I'm actually having lunch with
we stayed with Gravity Jack. It's phenomenal. Love those guys.
Yeah, real great.
Deeply.
So if you need some app development, augmented reality and all that stuff.
Yeah, they're doing some amazing things.
Okay, let's get back to the paddy wagon here. With Emilio.
Paddy wagon. Let's roll film.
Conservatives are weak because they will not do the hard things like this. I'm a conservative Trump voter. I'm ready for Congress.
Running for Congress.
Anybody that's want to get arrested, that's my vote. I'm voting for that guy.
So Antifa's out there punching people, and you get arrested?
Well, it's because I laid down. It's because I said I channeled my inner Rosa Parks. I said, "What would Rosa Parks do here?"
That's my
She
line.
refused to get off the bus.
That's my line right there. Culture appropriation. I'm done. I'm sorry, Emilio.
I'm done.
You're
That
canceled.
was your line.
Yeah,
I knew it.
Yeah, you said you were Rosa Parks. First you claimed to be a woman, and then you claimed to be black. That's enough for me, bro.
That's it.
You are part of the inner trans circle.
Dude, I'm a black woman. I'm a proud Nubian princess.
Now
And
everybody,
don't you take that away from me.
but the police officers didn't know that. Otherwise, you wouldn't have been arrested, Emilio.
No, I don't know. It's L.A. I probably would have been. I've never been heard from again.
So who are you out there with? Are you out there by yourself? Or are you with a group of people, or what's going on here?
No, I mean, like people from my church were there, people from my community, friends. I'm active in the Republican and conservative politics out here in LA. There were a lot of people out here. I accidentally, when I walked into the protest, I walked in on the wrong side, right? I walked into to the west end of the parking lot where all the queer supporters and activists were hanging out. And I was only going to be there for a few minutes because I had to run and do something else with my daughter's podcast. I missed that, obviously, but I was like checking it out, and it was just like that episode from Seinfeld where Kramer, he walks into the protest and they're like, "You got to wear the badge." I don't want to wear the badge, and yeah. It was just like that. There was a guy. So I was just standing around, just watching, waving hi to the people across the police barricades that I knew, getting yelled at by people that didn't know me, calling me, all kinds of awful names.
Yeah.
And then and I'm going like, I'm one of you. But, there's so much yelling there. You can't really tell sometimes.
Yeah. So
then, but I saw that Antifa was doing things. There was an Antifa presence, and specific. And then I saw that there was a fight broke out, and I was like, "Oh, this is." I've seen this time and time again. Again, I saw it on January 6th, 2021. There, at L.A. downtown. We've all heard of these embedded feds and everything like that. And I ran to it, and I started praying, and I was praying, and a fight broke out. There was a guy with a bullhorn. Jordan Henry. Sorry about that. That's what happens when you have two first names. Yeah. Jordan Henry. He's a big activist in this movement down here. He was like telling people, "Do not take the bait. Do not take the bait." And of course, all these guys were in there taking the bait.
Yeah.
And then the police break up the fight, arrest a couple of guys, come over, pull out their megaphone, and start reading. Blah, blah, blah. This is under ordinance, blah, blah, blah. Section A. Blah. This is an unlawful assembly. Everyone must disperse. Right? And it took them a while to roll things off. But I noticed that Antifa, the queer side, picked up and left rather quickly. I was praying at the time, and I mistakenly thought that maybe I had prayed the gay away. But,
So it does work.
I thought it did work. This is a miracle. And then later, actually, it wasn't until later that there was one of the few stragglers, because I was still on the queer side,
the gay
of
the protest,
right, of the parking lot. There was a guy there, and it was just me and praying and a couple of other people, and he came up to me with a bullhorn, fully Antifa, he had the face mask and everything. And he was like, beep, beep, in my face. And I was praying on him, and he'd be like, "Don't touch me, bro. Don't touch me." And then this minister, a pastor of a large church here, that's a very large, welcoming church here, came up to him and said, tapped him on the shoulder and said, "Let's go." The guy turned around and walked off immediately. I was like, that was really weird. This like anti-authoritarian guy who does not like to be touched, and obviously does not like any kind of spiritual attention put on him.
Wow.
Just took a direct order from a man of the cloth. That was really weird.
That's the guy with the collar on, right? He had a collar on.
Yeah, guy with the collar on.
Yep.
And then my friend later told me that he caught on video. We're still working through it here, but so spoiler alert, the minister was actually giving direct orders before the fight broke out. And if you go look back on some of the footage of the news yourself, you can see the man with the collar kind of like in these like little side, like, you know, like these like little conversations like this, like when they're just looking and then blah, 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 blah. They're on, it's like, wow, before the fight broke out, they seem to be talking to each other.
Interesting.
So, yeah. So
we need a little James O'Keefe on that one.
So then what exactly did they arrest you for? Obstruction? What was their charges, and how are you going to deal with that in court? What's that look like?
Okay, so what happened next was they called the unlawful order. Queer side goes, you know, I have that whole interaction with the guy who takes the direct order. Nobody's left on the queer side, so I go and join my peeps on the right side, and after a while, the police roll out in their motorcycles and start pushing the crowd back out of the parking lot onto the sidewalk, telling them, go home, go home, go home. And I'm like, what? They're not going to do this. They're not going to shut down our free speech. They're not going to shut down our First Amendment right to peacefully assemble. This was a peaceful assembly, except for one fight. I thought to myself, if I went down to the WGA strikes that are now proliferating Los Angeles, and I got in there and started a fight and had a face mask and started like getting into it with a couple of the Teamster guys, because, you know, they're hotheads. So, and then me and some Teamsters, and then the police show up, they wouldn't send the WGA home. They would arrest me and the Teamster, and then we would go to jail, and they would let the WGA strike continue. But there is a problem here in Los Angeles with free speech. Well, that's really happening all across our country, but, you know, LA is one of the ground zeros of liberalism and wokeism.
And so the court case is what?
So the court case is, I know I keep going off on these tangents.
No, it's great.
Where are you at? So I lay down on the ground. I said no. And I asked other people to join me, but they were like, no, it's not worth it. I'm like, dude, this is how you start things. You stand up.
Yeah.
You lay down to stand up. And then I got taken away. And then, I was put in the hole, and actually, it was Glendale jail is very nice. They should actually advertise, come get arrested in Glendale. You can drop this. Yeah. So clean here. You can drop the soap. So then they hit me with bail. It was like, what? I thought bail was like discriminatory here. That's what they keep on telling me about Los Angeles. So I refused to pay it. I stayed overnight. The police detectives came and, did an interrogation with me. Like, what were you doing there? What were you doing there? And I was like, well, you just told me that anything I say will be used against me in court. So I don't really feel comfortable answering that question. And they were like, well, you were the only one that was arrested. I said, well, then how was it an unlawful assembly? And they said, well, okay, but like two other guys were arrested. I'm like, I know, I saw them in jail with me last night. And I saw how quickly the Antifa guy got bailed out. And I said, so what did they get arrested for? And they said, well, fighting and disruption of the peace. I said, okay, so who started the fight? Well, that doesn't matter. Well, they started, trying to like tell me who, they said like the protesters were one side on the east and one side on the west. So the guy on the north side, well, I was there. I knew who was on the north side. That was Antifa. So I said, well, why don't you guys, we can just shut down this. We can just shut down this investigation right now, and you could go catch some real criminals. So they didn't like that. They just, oh, okay, all right. And then so they slapped me with two misdemeanor counts, which actually both carry fine and jail if I'm convicted. One is failure to disperse per police order, and the other is wasting police resources, delaying peace officers in their I want to say dereliction of duty. No, I won't say that. In their performance of duties.
So
I got to tell you though,
do you get to
2
write
weeks
them a
later,
ticket?
I show up.
Go ahead.
The police and me are pretty good now. So even though I was giving heat to those detectives, that was then. This is now. This time I showed up with a megaphone because we just had a protest there. We had a bigger crowd. Antifa barely showed up. They tried to start a fight. I grabbed in there with my megaphone, got everybody like clear the street. The police this time actually, they didn't arrest me. They actually thanked me and asked me for help. Can you help us? And that night we had a victory because we sent them home instead of them sending us home.
Wow.
Interesting.
So yeah. But Glendale City Council right now is trying to use, they've got like this whole hate speech initiative going and anti-Semitism resolutions. It's like, who was out there saying death to Jews? Nobody was saying that. Right. So, but the mayor, he's very liberal. He's basically I don't know, maybe a political hack. I don't know. He seems like it from what I can tell, because he's appointed mayor. And then he's gone on this initiative about hate speech. So they're using what happened, a couple of 3 weeks ago as the impetus to get all this hate speech, like ordinances and laws put into place. So that's how it just like it extrapolates from these things that, from conservatives standing out and taking a stand and, going out into the public sphere and actually saying something.
Emilio, I wonder what it would have been like and what would have happened if maybe 30 people would have done what you did and laid out in the street and said, we're not going to do it. This is our freedom of speech. And if you're going to take him in, you're going to have to take us all in. I wonder what the attitude would have been like then, or if they would have had a whole different outcome. I look at Antifa, I look at the other side who are manipulating, and they know how to play the game so well. Yep. And they have, there's nothing that's off the table when it comes to like what they're willing to risk. A day at work, okay. I understand it. We have families. I got 7 kids. I got to figure out if I'm going to be at work and lose my job, or if I'm going to actually say, okay, I'm fighting for freedom of speech today. And those two things aren't necessarily at odds, but boy, sometimes in real life they can feel like it, right? And so, but I just wonder when I'm hearing you yell and say, hey, this is what conservatism needs to do. This is why we're not winning, because we're not willing to do this right here. And I agree with that. And we got to figure out how to manage that aspect in the fight right now, because some of us are going to have to go to jail, right? Like,
absolutely. It's like MLK, went to jail. If you've ever read the letters from a Birmingham jail, it's like listening to a sermon,
right?
Right. He quotes everybody from Thomas More, I believe, or Thomas Aquinas to St. Augustine. He quotes Paul. He quotes, he gives a whole theological discourse on why he is there in jail.
Well, even when Gabe got arrested, and it's one of those things that nobody was happy about, and we were disappointed in our police about, but even so, the outcome of that, the legal ramifications of that landed on our side. It was good for us that happened, but nobody likes it in the moment, right? It's not good. Gabe didn't like being arrested and put in jail, right? But the outcome, we won. Right. Well, and it was helpful for next time something happens like that. They're going to have to think a couple times before, like, is this the right process that we need to do in order to operate on this? Do we need to stop free speech? Right. And so I appreciate what you're doing, brother. Hold on.
I just got one more point here. We're in this situation where conservatives are now showing up to protest and getting arrested, but because we largely refused to get in the political process 30 years ago. We absolutely. We abandoned the political process, and now we're here protesting castration initiatives at local city boards and so forth.
Well, just this ability to speak publicly on it.
Exactly.
Yeah.
I mean, think. Emilio, maybe you got a good answer for this, but like, name one city that the liberals built and the conservatives took over. I can name you 10 cities that the conservatives built and liberals took over. Denver, Colorado, Dallas, Texas, Austin. I mean, you go down the list. I can't think of a city where liberals built and conservatives overtook it. But because conservatives are constantly good at like building things and then becoming apathetic and kind of lazy.
Yeah, just like You know that it was Christians that founded Hollywood.
That's right.
The little town of Hollywood was founded by Christians and overtaken by hedonists, materialists, the spiritually dead. You know,
Yeah.
it's no, it's awful. It's and leftists. You know, that's what happened to Hollywood itself. It was founded as like a little Christian sanctuary. But that's the fight we're in with the devil all the time. You know, Adam and Eve had the garden. God built it. That's even better than Christians building something or conservatives building, you know, and then people just rolled it over when Satan showed up and, you know, offered the world. So that's what happens. So Christians need to step up. Conservatives need to step up, but Christians need to lead the way.
Yeah.
Because conservatives are getting their values from Christianity. And yeah, it'd be great if more people had gotten arrested, but would have been better is if more people had prayed. I was also at the Dodger protest. Yeah. A couple weeks ago. And the Dodgers, they were doing the drag queen nuns, right? The Catholics, we're not gonna do this. They've crossed the line. So they showed up, they had prayer processions, they had a mass, they did all the things that should frankly be held in the stadium. Where's the Catholic Mass night in the stadium? But of course, even like Christians will be fighting amongst themselves so much about doctrine and this and that and everything. We're, rehashing the 30 Years' War that, a good Baptist family won't go on Dodger Catholic night, but they'll go on drag queen night.
Yikes!
That's the problem.
So is this what your news show is going to be like on Loor TV? Fake news?
Yeah. So what fake news is about is we take news stories, real news stories, and real headlines, and we just deconstruct them. We shake them out to get the flimsy narratives. And then we basically just act them out like a sitcom, or like it's actually an unscripted, partly improvised, long form sketch comedy is what it is. Oh. Much like have you ever seen The Herald?
Yes.
Improv, yeah, that UCB does in Second City, IO. Yeah. That's what the show is built on.
Okay, so
yeah, but we basically just take them, and right now we're in rehearsals, right? So in rehearsal, we took a bunch of stories about the submarine, the Titan submarine that went down.
Yeah,
and we just took the different news stories because the Titan submarine going down is a news event,
right?
And this is especially what people who use news as propaganda. They rely on the public's ignorance between what a news event is, what a headline is, and what a news story is. And the fact that all of them are narratively based, right? And they're all manipulated because a news event is only a news event because the news show up at an event in the real world. So like one of the news stories that we riffed on was John Cusack was upset that the news was paying attention to the Titan sub instead of a bunch of refugees going down in a boat off the Greek island, right?
Right.
And it's a fair statement. Yeah, why is the news paying attention to the Titan? Well, probably because it's a little bit more exciting. Maybe it'll finish well. Maybe I don't know. What are the ratings? Maybe we can take a punch at billionaires. I don't know. There's all these like agendas that are in the news, corporate agendas, woke agendas, even on the right, people have agendas because it's narratives.
Yeah.
It's not, news is not science, but they treat it like science. Mm-hmm. So again, what we do is we just play them out. And, we had, in the rehearsals that we were doing, we had somebody playing John Cusack and, and Cardi B was a part of it. And, and we just play out the logic in there to show you that the news is telling you a story and they're not doing a very good job at it.
You know, so that's perfect because you talked about improv, you talking about the news telling us a story, not doing a good job at it, and propaganda. I happen to have a clip from you from, I think it was Anna Navarro on The View, talking about the narrative of the Hunter Biden laptop and what it really means.
The Hunter Biden story, the scandal, the this, the that, it's also the story of a father's love. And Joe Biden has never and will never give up on his son Hunter, and will never treat him lesser than. And so he is a father first. Take it or leave it.
Take it or leave it, Emilio.
Oh, man. First off, a lot of the news these days is just improv.
Right.
Anna Navarro might as well have said, like, hey, can I get a suggestion out there? Okay, Joe Biden and Hunter Biden. Okay, I'm just going to give you my opinion about it. It's a lot of talking heads. Is she like, does she really know them? Does she like hang out with them? Is she their therapist? I don't know. No, she just has an agenda where she has a bias towards leftism, the Democratic Party, all their, their philosophies. And right now, Joe Biden is their guy, and Hunter Biden is part of the problem that needs to be cleaned up. So, of course, now she spins it, So here's a logical extension of what she's saying. Fathers are important, incredibly important in their sons' lives. Let's stand up. Let's tell you what, let's get rid of Pride Month and put Dad's Month instead.
Patriarchy Month.
Patriarchy Month. Exactly. Patriarchy. She's basically arguing for patriarchy.
Right.
A man in every home, and a loving man who just will do anything for his son.
Including buying a hooker.
Including cleaning up his mess. That's the other thing. Is like, well, he sounds like he's a dad, but he's kind of failed at being a dad. So, wait, are you telling me that when a Democrat is a dad, that they suck at being a dad? Is that why this country is such a mess? Because all of our father figures, like their shiny example of a son is like Hunter Biden. I always imagine Hunter Biden. I mean, Joe turning to Hunter and going like, "Why did Bo die? Why couldn't it have been you?"
Oh my goodness. Emilio, so that's going to be your news show, man. That's going to be interesting. Where can people support what you're doing and follow you at?
Loor TV, LOOR.TV. We're going to be dropping this week, I understand. So
that's interesting.
And we're a content creation machine. I love our partnership with Loor because I designed the show to not only be like cutting edge. We're on also because we're on a mission to save comedy from cancel culture, speak in the culture, punch a hole through the fake news to make room for the good news. But I also did it as a low-cost production.
Yeah.
So that because you got to think business. This new space that Loor is building, to be an alternative to Hollywood and an alternative to even some other Christian or conservative platforms, and it's very experimental. They need content that is going to succeed. So that's what I built the show for a platform like Loor, so that we're going to be, it's easy to fund, easy to greenlight. So throw us your extra loot and let's get some content going out there right away.
Loor TV.
Emilio, thank you for coming on the show. Appreciate you, man.
Oh, thank you so much. God bless you guys.
God bless you too. If you're single, get married. If you're married, have you some kids. And if you have kids, go baptize them. Until tomorrow, love God with all your heart, soul, mind, and strength. Love your neighbor as yourself. Go fight, laugh, and feast. This is Cross Politic.
It is the duty of the free man to resist tyranny at every turn. Every man will either watch his freedom stripped away or take action to protect what he loves. Introducing the A3, the newest revolutionary body armor from Armored Republic. The A3 is the new standard for lightweight multi-hit body armor. A3 plates are incredibly light at 4.6 pounds. The patented design captures fragmentation while remaining multi-hit capable. The A3 will stop up to M80 ball, yet comes in at only 0.7 inches thick. The A3 is the thinnest NIJ .06 compliant or certified composite standalone plate that includes the drop test. The A3 is the first of its kind, patent pending, that combines an alloy strike face with polyethylene backing, revolutionizing body armor technology by providing strength and durability while remaining sleek and maneuverable. The A3 is the new standard in lightweight body armor. The fight against tyranny just got stronger.